Evening, everybody, and welcome to the July meeting of the general membership meeting for Quad A. It's good to see that even in the middle of the summer, we can still get a nice little crowd of people. So thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. Let's see. Do we have any new members tonight? Any new members? They all look like old members. No, are you a member of Quad A? Okay. Well, and it really is new members and guests. So we have a new guest coming from the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, and she is training. So want to stand up and be recognized here? Bella? Any new pilots or new ratings? No? Let's see, any new or new to us balloons. I do understand, do we have any on the list? Okay, I do understand that Don Boyer and Kelly Belangi have a new balloon, and it is going to be the same as, it's a twin to the balloon that they've had. So when, have they already got it? Yes. They've already got it. Oh, great. Good, David. Thank you. Good. And is there anything for ballooning in the community? Anybody got anything that has been going on with ballooning in the community? All right. Well, I'm going to hand it over to Peter.
So I can introduce the speaker? This is going to be a tag team today because our speaker is standing right here. But I also wanted to say that our speaker has a new balloon on order. What's the status of that balloon?
Oh, it's about three. My new balloon, it's a head 105, and it's probably another 3 weeks out from being finished up. I have seen actual photographs of the fabric laying on the floor and things and being sewn, so it's going to be a while, but I know it'll get here.
So they're sewing their oats or sewing their balloon or sewing something. Okay. I would like to introduce our speaker for the night. It happens to be Blair here, who's going to talk about all the exciting flying he did while he was on a sabbatical from us here in Oklahoma for 3 years? About that, 5 years. Wow. So take it away, and this should be interesting, I think.
You know, earlier Thule was telling me a little bit about some of the first balloon events here in Albuquerque, and that they had invited 21 balloons and only 16 showed up, and one of the reasons that the others did not make it was because of weather-related things. So it kind of shows me how little back then people knew about ballooning and whether or not they could actually, come here and fly, because that's always a big concern. So what happened in my case was that 6 years ago, my wife and I decided to pull up stakes and move over to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and for a job that she took and things, and I was semi-retired. I ended up working over there. But when I moved over there, I had done flying in Dubai, and I had done flying in Germany and Mexico, but most of my flying was done in the Southwest here, and most of it either was done at regular weekend events here, or at when I say events, just weekend flying here, or at events in the general area. So what I was going to, and it was being a balloonist, I'm not going to stop flying just because I moved to another part of the United States. And so my concern was, what do I do when I arrived there? I was not familiar with any of the local events. I was not familiar with any of the local pilots, and as it turned out, there really was only one pilot that flew around the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. And so it was really a situation where I needed to learn the flying, whatever flying area I could kind of create, and then in addition to that, kind of learn the etiquette, I think, for flying there, and how many how many times you might be able to fly, because if any of you know that area, it is windy most of the year. Now, most of us think about Oklahoma, we think about the vast western plains that they have there. But if you really go to Tulsa, you will find out that it is not quite like the rest of Oklahoma. And so that was a little bit of a shock. I'd never really spent much time in that part of the world. But so that's what I wanted to talk today about, was for all the pilots and crews out there, when you go to another part of the United States where you've never been before, and it's not necessarily even an event, you may want to go fly. Well, what do you do? What kind of steps do you take to make sure the safety of you and your passengers? So that's what I wanted to get into this evening with you. And part of this is because Peter didn't have anything for this month, so I'm here to do it.
I had a lot of other options. You were just the best option.
Tons of options. And I will also say that he's looking to finish up his term, so anybody else wants to do them, he's happy to have new ideas. So if you look here, you can see it's about maybe close to 750, 800 miles from Albuquerque to Tulsa, and Tulsa's up in the northeast corner of Oklahoma. So it is a lot different. As we would drive back and forth, you'd really notice when you got east of Oklahoma City and north a little bit, you were like up into Missouri and that kind of country over there. So it was a lot different than being here. So just a kind of an overview is it's a city of, not just a city, but the region has about 1 million people in it. And it has urban, suburban, and kind of rural areas. A lot of cattle, a lot of barbed wire fences, a lot of area that you might not be able to retrieve a balloon in, and we had to work that out and figure it out how to work with the locals. So, like I said, it is in the northeast corner of the state, and it's kind of in the southern Ozark Mountains. So it's not just flat country, but it is still windy. And one of the things that I quickly found out was that the average wind speed there was probably about 7 miles an hour, and you get off the ground about 300 feet, and there's a straight line wind doing about 20 miles an hour. So you're always working with that wind where it was fast, just off the ground, so you had to have plenty of landing room. So the terrain there was forest, and a lot of forest. The Arkansas River was the major water feature there in that area, and it comes all the way out of the Rockies here and comes all the way down into that area of Oklahoma, and a lot of lakes. I mean, when I say lakes, I don't mean a pond. I'm talking lakes that we had to probably be careful when we flew over or near them, because you could get into a situation where you'd be in trouble. I mean, I'm talking probably somewhere 10 miles long and 1.5 miles wide. Just understanding that it was an area that, not like here, where we just, you go out on the mesa and you may fly, but there's a lot of water there. Let's see here. Oh, the elevation there is only 722 feet. So it's different in that when you do your loading calculations for your balloon, it's easier to fly in higher temperatures. Many of our flights that we did were in the 80-degree range in the morning when we took off. But we could still, the loading would tell me that I could, in my 105, I could take myself and easily 2 other passengers. So it's a good thing being at that altitude. One of the biggest concerns that I had was the rainfall. It rains, they get 41 inches of rain there each year. So because of that, I might have been able to fly maybe 1 day a month, 2 days a month, depending. And what we would typically do is watch for a rainstorm that would come through. And on the backside of that rainstorm, there was a calm kind of a condition. And so just like everywhere else. But the other problem with that was the grass would be wet so there'd be plenty of moisture on the ground. You would probably have a situation where there could be low-lying fog in the mornings. So just because it was a calm morning, there were other things to be concerned about, and that's what I'm trying to impress upon everybody here is when you go to fly those areas, you got to know those weather conditions and recognize that they are different than here. I mean, how often do we get ground fog in the morning here? The general humidity there, even though, some of us have felt humidity in the last few days here, well, it's generally around 60% in that area of the state of Oklahoma, which is different probably than when you get further west in the western part of the state. We've had high temperatures here. Well, they've had with their what they call a heat index over there. It can range in the 115 kind of a amount. So again, we got to watch for density, altitude, and that sort of thing when you're flying in those areas. So, and as I said, generally the average wind there is about 10. When you find a day when you can fly, you find that the weather is it's still going to be fast just off the ground. Okay. When I got there, I didn't know anybody, any of the pilots. Like I said earlier, there was only one pilot that flew there all the time, or even some of the time, and again, weather permitting. And so I contacted somebody that I had flown with here, who knew somebody there, and so I got in touch with him, and he kind of went through some of that with me. But in addition to that, of course, you got to check the local weather wherever you are. And this is not just, I'm trying to go over things that you need to look for when you're flying anywhere new in the United States. You can call flight services, you can get a hold of Ryan Carlton's website, and Weather Underground, and all the other thing, usairnet.com, all those. Like I did, I said, I don't want to fly this area without first talking to the local pilots and knowing what they're doing and where they fly. So in the case of Tulsa, there was a club many years ago, but there is no club right now. But they did have, in fact, if anybody knows Jeff Gillis, Jeff is from Tulsa, and his family has flown there for many years, but none of them live there anymore. So I was able to find an individual that I could get a hold of who would, I spoke with him and he said, I'll take you on a kind of familiarization flight. And I think that's another really important thing for you to know is that you've got to probably just take one flight with somebody else who's done it before, because it can be, it just can get you into trouble early. Okay, confirm the airspace. You need to know where you are and what you're dealing with in terms of local airspace, as we know here. Look at street maps to know where you are. Find out if there's a Class B in your area, a Class C, or a Class D. And what I found was that there were a lot of private airports in that area. There are a lot of small airports that are very friendly to balloonists once you know where they are and where to fly from, or to. So the local pilot really the only one that flew there very often was Martin Philpott, and one or two of you may know him and know his flying. He's been flying there for 30 years, and so he said, Blair, I'll take you up, and we'll go on a flight and kind of get you used to the flying area and where we do it. And as you can see, there's open areas, but there's trees. It's pretty treed there. So he said, I'll just take you on a little flight and we'll just see how it goes. So we took off from a small airport north of Tulsa, near a town called Owasso, and we got into the air, and we didn't have too much trouble on the takeoff, but we did get into winds that were about 20 knots in the air. We probably flew a good 20 miles or so. Well, probably about 17 because we didn't fly for a full hour. So when we landed, we found a big field. We had no idea who the landowner was. Landed in his field, and well, I'll just show you. So, that was kind of common there when we'd find places to land. So we got into that property, and we needed plenty of running room. I don't know whether you could hear it or see it, but the wind was blowing the envelope pretty good on the ground and the grass and all. So we waited around for Martin's wife to find an entry point. And then she came in, and behind her came a police patrol car. Well, what was that going to be like? Here we go. So what happened was the police officer got there, and he said, "Sir, we had a report of a stolen balloon." And he says, "Let me show you my identification. I'm going to show you the registration, their worthiness. They all have my name on them. It's my balloon." And he goes, "Okay, let me go back to my patrol car." So gets back to the patrol car, gets in, makes a call. He comes back out, and he says, "Well, sir, the people at the tower were concerned that you were taking off in their airspace." And he goes, "Oh, no, not another thing." Well, what he did was he knew where he was. And like I said, he's flown that area for probably 30 years, 25 to 30 years. So what he said was that, I'm going to call the tower, and I'm going to let them know the coordinates that I took off from, and they will see that it is just on the edge of the Class C airspace inner boundary of the Class C airspace. So I was legal, and what they finally told him was, "Okay, sir, when you do this again, give us a phone call and let us know that you're taking off from right around our airspace, but we would prefer that you not be in our airspace." Now, as we all know, that was probably 6 years ago, and there have been some changes since then that we've all been working with. So, of course, for those of you that are pilots and things, this looks very familiar. It's a similar area to Lake Albuquerque in the sense that it's got the Class C airspace, and it starts from surface to 4,700. That's 4,700, so not very high. And then, in addition to that, there's a Class D down here to the south, and they get a lot of jet traffic and multi-engine aircraft traffic that comes in there. What we generally would do, and let me see if I can, there it is. Okay, so that's the Class D airspace at R.L. Jones down here at KVRS. And where we would go, I don't know whether I want to get anybody's way, we would fly from a little airport here when the weather was coming, the wind was coming out of the south, and we would fly up in that direction. And all that, I go back to the idea of keeping in touch with a local pilot who knows the area. Fly next to him or her. Fly around him so that you don't get yourself into trouble. Because he knew right where the line was on this, the right at the edge of the inner ring of the Class C. So there were other small airports, and we would often fly from one small airport to another, which was a really nice thing to be able to do, because we could just keep watching the wind and waiting a little bit, and it would get us to one of those other airfields. And there was, let's see here, 1, 2, 3 Airman Acres, Avian County Estates. There were several, and it was really fun because they were little like housing subdivisions with an airport, and so they were happy to see us, and they were very friendly to us. So, but again, just you've got to be knowledgeable about the airspace. Now, the other way, when the wind was coming out of the north, we would go down to the area of Broken Arrow, which is a southern suburb, south and eastern, and we would fly from there into Bixby, which is another area. You get to fly over the Arkansas River. So there were a couple of other airports that were nearby. William Pogue Airport is another one in Sand Springs area, which we would fly to from in town, from on the edge. So let's see here. So now this is that Gundy's Airport that we would fly from, and in this particular situation, it's really important to know these things. Everybody knows what CTAF is, right? It's the common traffic advisory, common traffic advisory, and we would use that so that we would let other balloons, or not other balloons, we were the only ones, other aircraft in the area know where we were, because there was no a fixed base, FBO right there. There wasn't a Unicom even. And so we would have to call the common traffic frequency so that people would know we were out there. And in this particular case, the only aircraft coming in was a helicopter, and so he got that shot. That's not from another balloon. That's actually from a helicopter that was flying in the general vicinity. And I had taken off, and he didn't contact me, but he knew I was there. So having knowledge of the CTAF, or if there's a Unicom in the area, make sure that you call. If you're up in Nebraska or somewhere, call that number and call that and just report out that you're there, because some people may not, until you call, not realize. Because we were taken off behind behind like a warehouse kind of a thing that was on their property, and so you never know when they can't see you, but they're coming in for landing. They have to know you're out there. So that was always good. And then I wanted to give you just a little picture of what the flying was like there and how different it is from here, and how you may end up flying in some other part of the United States where that becomes an issue. And so all the things that I told you earlier about knowing somebody in the area, knowing the weather conditions, and knowing the whole layout of the land there is important. So you can see it's pretty forested. That's in another town called Russellville, Arkansas. And Russellville, Arkansas is about 3 hours from Tulsa, and they had an event, and you can see there were several other balloons in the air with me at that time. But once again, what we were trying to do, we were aiming for, was the airport again. So we were kind of positioning ourselves about 3-4 miles, I think it was north of the airport in Russellville, Arkansas. And just another thing that I do is I always have a crew person or a passenger on board take the photos, not me. So I always give it to somebody else to take any of the pictures. That's the Arkansas River, and in Tulsa, and so you can see that again it's a pretty forested area. So it's going to be different than flying here in Albuquerque. So this whole thing is just a reminder to everybody to, when you fly someplace else, get some help. That's back in Russellville. I wanted you to see that once I got there, and I got to know some of the pilots and that lived in the general area, Martin Philpott would get me hooked up with a bunch of the different balloon rallies that existed there. The Gatesway one was one that happened in Tulsa for many years apparently, but I happened to be there for the last year because they ran out of money, so didn't have the resources to continue the event. Shawnee, Oklahoma, Zarek has been there with me at Shawnee. So, are you going back this year? Yeah. I know I have friends that are going to be there, of course. Muskogee, Oklahoma is about maybe 45 miles south of Tulsa, and they have a nice balloon rally over there. Morel is a little bit further than Russellville in Arkansas, and it says Oklahoma, but actually it's in Arkansas. Wichita has a couple of good ones. Rogers, Oklahoma is up in that's Arkansas. Rogers, Arkansas, up the northwestern corner. Poto, Oklahoma is the one that has a little balloon event, and then Altus out on the west side of Oklahoma. So there are events. If you're flying in a new area, get to know the people that run those events, and you'll do much better by getting to meet people and getting to know other pilots. That's back in Russellville. My friend Martin on the right. And I think we were taking off from a small college that was there. Muskogee has a nice event there. And you know, what you'll find out in places other in the United States where it's lower altitude, you can do a lot more afternoon flights. You just got to be careful about the setting sun. We don't do many here in New Mexico, but most events have both morning and afternoon flights. All right, what did I figure out from all this? The people over there love to see the balloons, and you can have a train of 5 or 6 cars following you wherever you go with your balloon, because they're all fascinated by what we do, and they want to know all about them. So I think that was a kind of a surprise, because we don't have that much here. Everybody's seen them, been crewing them, maybe flown, so that's a kind of a little thing that I didn't realize was going to happen. We always kind of looked for new subdivisions, and the reason we looked for new subdivisions is all the utilities were underground. So when we started flying there, we go, okay, now I know where to look for a good landing site. And they would spread the houses and the streets quite a bit apart, so that was kind of nice to have. Get out there and attend new balloon events that you've never been to. Some of those, most of them, offer opportunity to, if you're a commercial pilot, be paid for your passengers. And many of those events actually will pay you to show up, which is a nice thing also with events in that area. I had so many people that wanted to get that birthday flight in. They wanted to get the anniversary flight in. They wanted to make that proposal and things. And I just found that you could not do that, because I would try to schedule something and it just would not happen for weeks. And I think I had maybe 1 or 2. And one in particular that I did, we were flying south to north from Tulsa. I think I must have been just tight as you could get on the tie-off line as we took off, and we did it, and they really were excited, and it was a proposal. So occasionally it would happen, but lots of times I would have to put my flights off for weeks at a time and just tell people, you know, that I'm sorry, but your anniversary's long gone, but we'll still try to give you a flight. Be patient. Be patient looking for and that's something that all of us know who are pilots. So be patient out there with your flying, and know that you just keep an eye for the right spot to land, and don't make it difficult for you. And remember, there aren't repair stations in every city there. So just be aware that it could be 150 miles. For me, it was probably over to Michael Scott over in Oklahoma City. And so he would take care of mine. Although I didn't ever have a problem. I did annuals and that kind of thing. But, you know, it is a long way for a lot of people. And wherever you go in the United States, you will find that it's not like Albuquerque. We don't have the people right here in town who can help support us. So, any questions? No. Oh, Peter.
Of course I got it.
Yeah, you generate a little things.
When you're taking off from that airport that's under the outer ring of Tulsa airspace, the floor of the outer ring, I think it was at 2,300 if you're taking off the
700 feet.
So you're fairly tight area there, especially if you're going over a congested area and you're supposed to be at 1,000 feet above ground. Did that cause a problem, or since all the winds were in the same direction, you didn't really have to search for winds in different directions to navigate?
There weren't other directions. We had a cone of about maybe 10, 15 degrees that we could use, but other than that, like I said before, you could take off at 7, and you would be in about a 20-mile-an-hour wind straight ahead, a straight line wind that would just keep you going. Now, the one big obstruction that we would encounter were antennas, not bigger than cell phone antennas, but 200-300 foot tall antennas. So yeah, they were there, and they weren't in direct line to the normal winds that we used. So they were out there, and we just had to be careful about them. There, to the south, there were 4 towers on the southern route that we would take from north going south, but they were well outside the outer ring. So, and you could get there quickly. It wasn't like here where you might hang around and do 3 miles or 2 miles in an hour-long flight. So, yep.
I promise this will be the last one. Transitioning from Albuquerque to Tulsa, how long did it take you to start to feel comfortable flying to Tulsa, if ever? Or was there always a higher tension level flying there?
No, I didn't think there was. I think I probably spent 4 months getting the house settled in and that kind of thing, and probably a month or so of actual, But the thing is that it was so much time between flights because the weather didn't cooperate. It was either raining or it was, windy on the ground, and there just weren't that many flyable days.
But I'm asking, did you feel comfortable flying?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Once I got to know the area, you knew you know generally, and again, because it's such straight line, you knew that the areas that you were going to be flying over. And like I said, if we set it up right on the day, you could fly to one of those other small airports that were nearby and land there. Probably a month but a little bit longer than that, because like I said, in the first, after that first familiarization flight, again, we tried to fly together. That was the other piece to it so it took a couple of months probably. Yep. But again, it was an interesting experience having to fly with the forest and that kind of thing, which probably the rest of the United States must fly in a lot of the time. So, any other questions?
A number of questions on Zoom, Blair. So you alluded to the fact that the rallies usually flew morning and afternoon flights. What about the rest of the time when you're just fun flying? Did you fly mornings, afternoons, or both?
Yes, I rarely did I fly 2 flights in a day. Rarely would that condition happen where you could fly 2 flights. So normally we would fly a morning flight or an afternoon flight, but not both.
And with that few balloons and folks there, where did you go for instruction and check rides?
Oh, the Martin Philpott is a commercial pilot, and so I could get my my flight review from him. I did come back to Albuquerque, as many of you know, quite a bit, and so I could come over here for that kind of thing as well. So check rides, and I didn't need to do a check ride myself. He had a student who was here just recently for the balloon camp. His daughter was in the balloon camp, but he is a fairly new pilot, and he received his license, I think, in February, and he had to go all the way up to Kansas City to get his check ride done.
And then how many hours were you able to fly, and in kind of what time frame? I think you said you usually flew about once a month.
Yeah, I probably, between here in Albuquerque and there, I probably did, in the 5 years, probably 150 hours of flying. But again, you were flying maybe once every 3 weeks. It was just difficult because of the weather conditions there. And I would, like I said, I'd come back here to do some of that flying.
That's it from Zoom.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your attendance. Thanks. Myself. All right, so thank you all for putting up with me for my presentation, and we'll move on to board updates. Peter Cuneo with programs.
Thank you, Blair, and thank you for that interesting, at least to me, interesting presentation. Okay, couple of things that are not directly Vice President related, but after having that great presentation from Mr. Bond at the Albuquerque Tower month before last, I guess, Mr. Bond has now moved on to Memphis, Tennessee, and we have a new tower manager for the Albuquerque Tower. So we need to do a little more re-educating, guys. The new manager's name is Jeremy Bromley. He has served in the past as a controller here in Albuquerque, so he's not completely foreign to the area. He's probably seen a balloon. He knows what a balloon is, we hope. We're trying to get a meeting with him. Doug is trying to set something up, and I know Fiesta is also trying to set something up. But I don't think this is a conspiracy. Also, you might, if you were of that type, you might think that it is. I think this is just normal turnover. That's kind of the way the government works. You get moved from one station to another. This is supposedly a promotion for Mr. Bond to go to Memphis, although I personally think Albuquerque is a much better place to be than Memphis, but I guess the FAA thinks it's a promotion for him. That piece of news. Another piece of news that is not directly related is next month in August, I believe we are going to have a short presentation from Nita Courtney about the Balloon Fiesta quilt. She is one of the main quilters in the New Mexico Quilting Association. She's going to bring the quilt in, show it, and if you bring your wallet, you will even have a possibility of buying raffle tickets to win the quilt. It'll be set up on the side. That won't be the main speaker. The main speaker, I think, I know who it's going to be, but I'm not going to say yet because I'm not 100% sure. It's going to be Fiesta related, and I think that's about all I have. Oh, well, we have a meeting tomorrow. I don't know if you were going to mention this or if I should, with the Double Eagle Tower folks, just to make sure everything is okay there, because we've heard some rumors that some people found out that there are balloons flying in the area over there, and what a surprise, right? Anyway, I've been out several weekends when we've headed in that direction, and I've heard a lot of people on the radio talking to Double Eagle, and I haven't seen any difference in the discussion with the controllers. They all still say if you get within 2 miles, or if you're planning on doing a landing on runway 21, please let us know. And other than that, they really don't seem to be too worried. So we'll just go out there and have a nice sandwich and lunch and make sure that everything's okay. That's all I got.
Thank you, Peter. And as I understand it, the quilt will be given away, raffled, and will be given away at Fiesta, right? During Fiesta at some point. Oh, the last day, the official word there. Okay. Thank you, Peter. And yeah, we're going to go out to Double Eagle and listen to what the manager's concerns may be and try to develop a good relationship with them. Let's see here. Taylor, come on down. Oh, Kelly. On the, within their actual fenced-in area? Yeah.
Off the runway, could we move off the runway and they would continue? It might be a question for the meeting is if we happen to land out there, what would our procedure be? That's what I would think. But you never know. Somebody just winds up landing right in the smack dab middle of the runway.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, the question really was, as we work with and speak to and get to know the tower manager out at Double Eagle, what is his expectations when we land, if we land out within their fenced area? Not maybe right on the runway, but within the actual airport area. I know by then you'd be well within the Class D airspace, but what are his attitude about that? Yeah. Okay. Right, Kelly? Okay, thanks.
Okay, I have one new member for the month of July, and that's Tom Ferenz. And then I have 3 that weren't mentioned last month, Stacy Woodrum, J.B. Aiken, and Bryce Risley. That's it.
No, we need a report on the kid.
Oh, she's doing good.
We have a new member, right?
Not quite. She's little. All right. I tried to convince Trent to bring her, but he wasn't about it. So.
Thank you much. All right. We'll move along here to Dick Rice with the treasurer.
Thank you, Blair. For all of you pie chart aficionados, I do have them in the cloud bouncer. June is the first month of our new fiscal year, and not much happened in June, so there really isn't much there. Some rather large sections in the pie chart because they tend to take up the whole thing. But anyhow, any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me about them. I'm always available either by email or cell phone, or tackle me in the hallway here or whatever, okay? Thank you.
I have a quick question for the treasurer. Are you going to be paying for not having alcohol?
No, the check is laying right there.
Keep it. Keep that check. This is to my knowledge, this is the first time in many, many, many months that we have not had a bartender here for us at Quad A, and we need to find out what's going on. But it is a first. We had expectations. Okay, Jason, Jason, anybody get a report from Jason to offer for this evening for community relations? And anybody know of any issues with community relations that we need to take care of? Please let me know. Special events, Chris McCord. Where is Chris? No information from Chris. Peg, are you doing the Beth Wright is doing the report for the Education Committee.
Thanks. So we don't have a lot going on right now, but we are preparing for the Fiesta Safety Seminar, and so that the registration should be online the first part of August. We also, besides the books in the back, we still have a few copies of the endorsements for flight reviews and for flight training that Ken put together a few months ago. So if anybody needs some endorsements for doing instruction, then we still have a few of those, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beth. Next one is flying events. Doug Gant.
All right, flying events. We are now entering the busy time of our year. The July event is in the books. Keith, would you stand up and take a bow? He's our cart leader, leading everybody by 1,800 points. He is smoking the competition. All right, August. As you know, we lost the club field up off of Northern. Our August event is the 13th, and we will hold it at meet again out at Joe Harris Elementary. We did meet with the Parks and Rec manager for Rio Rancho. We got a list of parks from them. We're working our way through them, trying to find out what works best for the club and where we can hold events and do this kind of stuff. Obviously planning for next year, but we've got to find a home again. We do miss that. Our September event will be at Fiesta Field. December is the Jingle Bell Rally, the 12th through the 10th through the 11th. Blair did mention we are meeting with the tower manager at Double Eagle tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to some good stuff coming out of that from that particular standpoint. I am looking for assistance with flying events, checking in pilots during our monthly events. So if you're available, coming out with your pilot, donate some time to work a cell phone for us so we can get everybody checked in. I'd appreciate that very much. This kind of falls under community events, but many of you may know Daniel Cave, a pilot who lived here in Albuquerque for many, many years. His daughter Stephanie lives here in town, and she is looking, not really a donation, she's looking to pay for a balloon ride for two that they can use as a raffle for her son's football team. So if you've got a balloon for two, get with me so I can get back in touch with her from that particular standpoint. We did talk about the LOA. It's still in effect. We need to be careful even on our regular flying on a regular basis with what we do from that particular standpoint. Always be cognizant of that and where we're headed and what we're doing. And lastly, many of you may know Dave Sullivan out of Georgia. He'll be here. His company is Balloonacy. He had a post on Facebook today that I have reposted on my page, and it deals with this drone issue that the FAA is dealing with. And the drone that they're looking to, and the reason I'm mentioning it, because at some point it may affect all of us, because they're looking for those drones to give them clearance over right away under 400 feet AGL. Well, dear God, you're going to run into us if you're doing that. These things weigh 90 pounds. They measure 78 inches by 65 inches by 46 inches. I mean, he's got pictures. He actually took some of his, styrofoam, and he built a box this size. You can put 2 riding lawnmowers in this box. That's how big these damn things are. So, yeah, they do. They're crazy. And I mean, they're going to hurt. They're going to kill somebody from that particular standpoint. There is a link to a email for the FAA to submit your thoughts on this, and I'd appreciate if everyone would get on there and let them know exactly how you feel. The final thing hasn't been written, so usually by the time that happens, it's too late. So we need to get on there and make our thoughts known about what a danger this is to all of us. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doug. And just as a reminder, you can still make a comment to the FAA by August 5th. So please, if you have not already done so, send in your displeasure, if you will, with that new regulation that's being proposed. Okay, let's go on down here to crew development. Sue.
Thank you, Blair. Quick question for Doug. Can anyone submit a comment or pilots only? Anybody can. Okay, good. I had been asked that, and I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. I mean, it doesn't just have to be a pilot. I mean, you as crew that go out there and crew on a regular basis, you understand, you know what we're looking for, you know what we need, and you know what that's going to do. 400 feet, good God, that's crazy. I mean, it's just a matter of time before somebody gets killed. from that particular standpoint. I'm sure we've all seen those horror pictures of, little drones that have just run into envelopes anyway. This thing's going to cause a lot of damage. So yes, get your crew involved into it as well, and get them to make comment as well. The more people we can send comments, the more effective this whole thing will be for all of us.
No, I actually have a crew D report this month. Hey, all right. So for the month of August, we will be having our second annual cornhole competition. And now that I know where we're flying from, thank you, Doug, it will be at or near Joe Harris Elementary. For our crew development course that we've been working on with the Education Committee, we are still in production. We've gotten a lot done, but we are not going to make our August 1st deadline. But hopefully it will be soon, sooner after that. July's score, because only one pilot scored last month. July's score has been posted and is on our website, and that's all that I have.
And that's a lot. Thank you, Sue. All right. Karen is not with us, and she sent me just an email that she apologized for not being able to be available tonight and didn't have anything new to report. So let's move on to other ballooning organizations. So we never seem to have anybody from the FAA here anymore. They seem to be shy of us. So let's see. The BFA, actually, we had Mr. Cannon, Pat Cannon here from the BFA a couple of months ago. It was nice to see him. Any news from the Valencia Flying and Retrieval Society? Do we have no report? They have no report. How about Top Gun? Top Gun. He's got him.
Successful event on July 17th, 18th. Winds were a little bit early, and that a lot like Oklahoma, I guess. And so you could go, but you, in place, that was me. Fifth place fifth place was Ian. Fourth place was Steve Mezzincello. And third place, Sean Spiker. And second place was some guy named Sam. I can't remember Sam Parks, I think. Yes. And first place was Trent Caldwell. And Trent, it's quite a story since he hadn't flown with us for a while. They got a little Bambino, and he came out. All right, August 20th and 21st, we're doing a 2-day event. I'm going to be the event director. I'm going to try to make it hard, try to give you something to shoot for, you and Sam. And hopefully with what we can fly on the west side now with the schools cooperating more, we can put something together that's a little more varied. Along those lines, tomorrow I am picking up a wind song. For those of you who don't know what that is, you can launch it and it'll tell you the winds on the way up. So it'll give us a little more information, and hopefully as an event director it helps me the right targets so that we can actually challenge people to maneuver and make the targets. All right, that's all I got.
Thank you, David and Top Gun. All right, we do have Sam Park here, so unless anybody else from the Fiesta, Sam will do it. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Blair. Just a couple of other notes. You mentioned the BFA today. As a matter of fact, BFA President Pat Cannon had a 5-minute presentation with the FAA with respect to the drone issue. And so they gave him that 5 minutes after the ballooning community complained about the fact that we were not being listened to or not being heard. So he had a very thorough presentation that went before this panel, whoever they were. And so hopefully some good will come out of that. And also wanted to follow up on what Beth said about the Quad A safety seminar. If y'all remember John DeWitt with the local FSDO, he's retired now. But Joe Kluk with the local FSDO is going to pick up the baton, and they're going to do many seminars during Balloon Fiesta again this year. So more details coming out that in a little bit. So Mr. Kluk is going to take care of that. Just to give you an update on where we are with Balloon Fiesta. How many knows how many days away we are? I know Taylor knows. How many? 64 days. That clock is ticking quickly. We have a total of 648 balloons, 168 additional pilots, 121 special shapes, and 85 little globitos RC balloons. So 85. We've already applied with Guinness to set a new world record. So we're excited about that. And also Peter and Barbara will be one of the 9 teams that are going to be competing in the America's Challenge this year. So very glad about that. And as such, you know, last year we had the travel restrictions, so we really didn't have our international friends able to attend. So those restrictions are all gone. So we've got close to 100 international pilots going to be attending this year. One of the changes from last year, if you remember, due to COVID concerns, we actually implemented a Wednesday evening pilot registration. That's not going to happen this year. We're going to go back to a more traditional Thursday, Friday pilot registration at Sid Cutter Pilots Pavilion. So with all the numbers that we're anticipating, you might want to come early because it's going to fill up quick. We got some new things, and we got some really cool things we're bringing back this year. We all know that this all got started in 1972 with 13 balloons down at Coronado Center. During Albuquerque Aloft this year, we're going to do a reenactment of those 13 balloons from the Coronado Mall. And so 3 of the surviving pilots from 1972 will be in attendance. And a lot of the family members from those original 13 pilots' families will be also representing them at this special event. So I'd like to invite you all, if you're not already participating in Albuquerque Aloft, then come on down to the Coronado Mall for the special festivities. How many people have been wanting to go back to the zoo for the pilot picnic? Well, we're going back. So the pilot picnic, Wednesday afternoon from noon to 4, we're going back down to the zoo. Yes, sir. You had a question? It's going to be on the side of, I think there's a J.C. Penney's, south side. It's going to be on the south side of the mall. It's going to be roped off. It'll be a spectator area, viewing area, but the balloons will be inside that. We're going to also bring back the Shape of the Nations party this year. So that's also going to be on Wednesday evening and from 6 to 9, and that's going to be down at Isleta Casino and Resort. Music Fiesta is also back, and that's going to be on the last Saturday, October 8th, in the afternoon, all the way up to the glow that night. And we've already received our waiver from the FAA, so the whole ADSB issue, not necessarily resolved with respect to the LOA that's currently in place, but the waiver that we have with FAA allows us to basically operate the way we've always done during the 9 days of Balloon Fiesta. So no concerns there. That's all the notes that I have. Again, thanks to Barbara and Dick, our board of directors, staff members Ken and Taylor and myself. We're very excited to be getting closer. So we can't wait to see y'all in October. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Okay, and Ken. Remember, Ken's staff member too. Okay. Let's see. Anybody here from the Balloon Museum that would like to speak?
I'll take a quick shot.
Okay.
Just because I like the sound of my voice, and before I talk about the Balloon Museum, I got to also say that for the America's Challenge, there's 5 international teams coming. And Barbara, I want you to know that if we're not on the ground by Tuesday, we're going to be on the ground by Tuesday because we got to get back in time for the zoo party, okay? That's our excuse for not winning this year, okay? No, not that party. The other thing I wanted to say is, and this again is not museum related, but I've seen some previews of the course that is being put together for crew members by Quad A, and it is really outstanding stuff, and it is moving along. It's just a lot of stuff there, and it's got to get all assembled. So it's going to be something that you as a pilot should tell your crew about. If you are a crew, you should watch it. It's really good stuff. Okay, Blue Museum had their big gala, which used to be called Chicky Boom Ball, last month, and turned out to be really good. The weather was great. Thank you for Fiesta for bringing the Fiesta balloon and tethering it right there after dark. It was some really amazing photographs with the museum in the background, raffle that made a bunch of money, and it was a success. And an RC balloon was there too. Yeah, somebody brought an RC balloon. Who did that? I guess we did. There were two. That's right. You had one too. There were both of them. So the main thing that's happening at the museum, as you can see, there's more and more construction work for the 50th exhibit. Again, we have to thank Fiesta for making a large contribution to help that along. It's really moving about, and it's going to be a good exhibit. That's the main things we got going right now.
Thank you, Peter, for the Balloon Museum report. Now, on my schedule of activities tonight, it says raffle. But before we get to that, I've got just a couple of real quick things. There is a gentleman here with us tonight by the name of Will, and he is now a commercial pilot. When did you get your? Last Tuesday. Since we wanted to recognize any of our new pilots, and thank you very much. Where are you from? From here. Okay, good. The one other thing I wanted to mention is we lost a big supporter for Quad A in the last few weeks, maybe it was a month or so ago. Eloy Ortega passed away, and he was a big supporter of Quad A. He always gave us propane. He was very helpful to us, and so Ortegas has always been a big supporter of Quad A, so just wanted to remember him. Okay, raffle time. Peter.
Thank you. We have got a poster from the 49th Coupe Aeronautique Gordon Bennett America's Challenge 2005. This is the second to last time it happened in Albuquerque. It also happened in 2008, but this is the official poster. It's really cool. And in addition to that, we have an official Balloon Fiesta desk ornament. So those go as one item. I will just draw the tickets because there aren't very many here. We're going to have a really good chance of winning. Too bad you guys online can't win, but that's the way it goes. So 893. Oh, come on. Somebody's got to be there.
Hey, there was a winner over there.
Okay, good deal. And continuing right on, if some of you have had trouble scoring on targets, we have something that might just help you here. This is a parachute guy that you can throw from your balloon, and it's got a little man there, and if you talk nice to him, maybe he can direct the baggie, if he carries the baggie down to the target. Don't ask me where I got that. And with that, we also have another desk ornament. Yeah, we're going to, all right. How about 892? Isn't that what one number off from what we had last time? 892. Good deal. Got an extra passenger for your balloon there.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And last but not least, we have It's going to be 894. I've got it all pre-programmed. Okay. You have your very own balloon. Here. Just coming out of the box. And it probably isn't airworthy, but it's pretty anyway. And another desk ornament. If I get 894, I'm going to quit here. 894. I didn't do it on purpose, guys. I didn't look. I really didn't. Good luck, sir. I don't have any more gifts, but 895, you would have won the next one. Who's 895? New pilot. We got to find something for you. We'll find something here. We got to give you a new pilot something. How about a BFA official national convention in Topeka, Kansas bag and a couple of water bottles? You need water bottles, right? Congratulations. What's your last name? Blizzard. Oh, I know you. Yeah, we know each other. Yes, sir. I do. I know him well. All right, that's all I got. Meeting is over, I guess. Blair, do you want to say anything? Thanks for coming.